Hi all, and welcome to our EdTech Google Tool 101 sessions. I'm Chloe Marshall and I'm Head of Vocational Subjects at Sir Herbert Lyon Academy. I'm also one of the team of Lead Innovators at Academy's Enterprise Trust. Thanks so much for joining us today for this innovator session on the basics of using Google Drive. We designed this session to support you as part of the Lee Forest and AET EdTech Demonstrator Programme, and we really hope that this session will cover all you need to get started with using Google Drive in your school. If you're watching live, please introduce yourself in the chat on the right-hand side of the video, share where you're from and what stage you work in, and post any questions that you may have. We'll do our best, obviously, to get back to you and answer as many questions as possible. As you can see on the screen, today we're going to be having a look at the basics of how to open a Google Drive, how to create folders, how to create within those things like subfolders, all applications that you would be using normally on your computer devices, how to move folders around from recent folders and things like that. We'll also have a look at creating files, uploading files and what they look like with different formats as well. And we're going to have a brief look at some sharing options and some other applications and some other parts to Google Drive that we think you might need. At the end of the session, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you don't miss out on any of our other innovative sessions throughout the summer. Join us again next week for Google Docs, Sheets and Slides 101. Okay, thank you. Let's get started. Easiest way that I find in doing this is to go into a new Google tab. And you'll see from there, when you're logged into your school account, just make sure that you do have that logged in there. So I can see that's my school account, not my personal account. And we call this sort of 9-dot arrangement here on this side, we call that a waffle. And you just need to click onto that and you'll see there that lots of the G Suite applications come up. But at the top here, we've got Google Drive. So I'm just going to click onto that and that will open up my Google Drive. Okay, as you can see as it's loading, I've obviously got my own sort of personal folders that I use within my academy already, all here set up. But we're going to go through the basics of this setup in a second. Also, what I really like as well, obviously working sort of day to day, any quick access files that come up on here are files that you've recently accessed that day, but you can also find in other parts of Drive, such as recent, which I'll take you through towards the end of the session. Okay, so the first part that we're going to look at is how to create a folder. So you do that by the new button on here, and there's lots and lots of different options which I'm going to run through, but you'll click here, which is new folder. Okay, so I'm just going to put demo to start off with. So new at the top left here and folder. I'm going to click into that folder. And as you can see there, there's no files in that just as yet. I'll show you how to make a subfolder within that to start off with. And then we'll look at how we can put files into this folder as well. So a subfolder, like you would, as I said, on any of your devices on your computer that you've been using before, it's a similar setup to that. So you're just creating a folder, obviously within a folder. So again, just new and folder. So I might put Spring 1. Okay, so then that's starting to organize my drive like I would want it to. So a sort of overarching folder, and then I can have my subfolders within that as well. You then just were able to obviously click onto that, and you would navigate within that too. Another thing I like about it, rather than having to click the back button, you'll see as well, it takes you through the sort of arrows of where you are within that drive. So if you want to go back to the main folder, you can just click back onto demo there. And if you then want to go back onto the main drive screen, you can just click onto my drive just here. You can sort out how your folders are arranged. I like to have mine by last modified, but you can have them alphabetically and other sorting options. So my last modified is my preference on there. Okay, so we've gone through obviously the basics of how to add a folder, how to create a folder. We're just going to have a look at, before we have a look at shared drives as well, we're going to have a look at how to share a folder within your drive with another member of staff, so that they can obviously see what is in that too. So if I just go to my drive, and I'm going to go back to this demo folder. So you don't have to go into the folder itself. You can just right click on there and you'll see this option of share. So it's a little add button of a person. So I'm just going to add, so I'll just add Richard Sparks. Okay. You can also type in a quick message to say, hey, I have added you to da da da, and just tell them why you've added them. If you'd like to, send them an email. You could also edit their viewing options to that. So if you just want them to actually view the files within that folder, you don't want them to actually edit that or edit or add or so anything to do with that folder. You don't want them to touch it effectively. You just want them to view. You can click viewer or you can click editor, and they have the same organizational rights that you do. So you can send that on there. As I said, that will send that message to Richard now. It will also appear in his shared with me. So that folder, that demo folder, will come up within his shared with me option as well. So we've had a look at how we create a folder. I will do a bit of a recap as well. And then we're going to have a look at how we might move a file. I'm actually going to start here though at the bottom, how we create a file first of all. And then I'll sort of go back and have a look at how we then move files around. Okay, so if I'll just go back into my demo folder here. So just double click to open it up. So if I wanted to create a file within that folder, okay, so you might obviously maybe not working with Google Drive before, you might have existing files on your computer already. So I'll show you a couple of options with that. But if you want to go ahead and start using the Google Drive and the Google Suite documents, you can do that directly from within your folder as well. Okay, so again, it's a new button just at the top here and Google Docs. So yeah, normal editing options in here. I'm not going to take you through too much on the doc side of it. As you can see, the files are then within that folder there. You can then, if you want to, you could drag that into subfolders as well. I can just drag and I can drop it into that other subfolder within there as well. Okay. Obviously, as I said, you might have files and folders that you want to upload onto your drive. Okay, so from that as well, it's all on this new button here. So I go new and I do a file or folder upload depending on what you need. I'll show you a file upload. Okay, so I'm just going to upload and these obviously might be in Word or PowerPoint format from your computer. That's absolutely fine. So just click onto the file that you want and it will just be a couple of seconds uploading to that folder. You can, if you want to edit that Word document, you can edit that Word document. So if you just were to double click and you can open that with, and it does a simple conversion. Formatting should be identical. And then I can start to work on that document that I've just uploaded from my computer. Okay, so we'll have a look as well at the other types of documents, but we'll now have a little bit of a look at how to move your files around as well. So in my drive there, so I might have just a document that I've just put into my drive. It might not be assigned to a folder, so I'll just show you how to move that around. So this one here, this Google Slides that I was using during this session, I haven't assigned that to a folder, so I'll show you how to do that now. So the simplest way is to right click, and you want to click on the option that says move to. I'm just going to zoom in my screen just a little bit for you guys, just so you can see that. So right click and move to. It will then give you the options of where you would like that document to go. Okay, so I've got lots and lots of different on here. On the options of move to, it does alphabetically order them. So I'm just going to scroll down to demo. And it will give you the option within that. Obviously, you saw that we created the subfolder. It will give you the option in that to either move it to the main folder, which I've selected as the demo, or it will give you the option of putting it into a subfolder. So I'm going to just do that for now. I'm going to put it into the subfolder because then we'll have a look at how that appears in a second. And you click move here. It will just tell you at the end when it's done. So it will say that Google Drive 101 has been moved to the folder that I've obviously assigned. Okay. So going back into that folder now, we'll have a look. You'll see it's there. And if I decide that I don't want it in that folder, I want it back into the main folder, you can just right click that document again, click in the move to. And it's as simple as that back button there. And then it will just give you the option to move here. So I can just move it back into the main folder. Okay, so that's just a couple of the basics there. So we've looked at so far, we've looked at how to obviously open the Google Drive. We've looked at how we create a folder from the main screen, then how we create a subfolder. And we've had a look at how we move the files around in there as well. I'll just quickly show you before we have a look at the different document options. Your view on your drive as well. So I've got a list view on here. So this might be a bit more stereotypical to how you would have your folders arranged on your computer. So as you can see there, it then goes onto that as well, and you can then organize it by modified on there too. Okay, so I prefer mine on the grid view. I don't know why, I just quite like it. And I'll just, before I go into a couple of last little bits, I will just talk you through briefly having a look at the shared drives. So this shared drives is exactly the same as if you were to have, obviously you would have your personal files and account on your computer. You also might have something called, we call it a staff comms, where that's like a shared access folder between your whole school. That is effectively what this is or could become if we were to obviously look at sort of things like sharing accesses and sharing rights to that. But you could create then a new shared folder. So if I just give this a department name, so say for example you were a music department, or if you were a key stage, so it might be like key stage 1 shared folder. And this is where you could look at, again, I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. This is where you can look at who you would like in that folder, and then exactly the same as I showed you in my main drive, is when you could then put in and add different documents, and that is effectively your shared folder within your department or within your cluster of staff, etc. Okay, so there's just one person in there now, which is myself, because I've created the file. And you can just go through and just add people. So I'm just going to add Richard Sparks. You can also just type them a quick message, which sends them an email to say, I've added you to this folder. And you can also edit their contributions towards that. Okay, so whether they can add or edit or delete files, whether they themselves, depends obviously on sort of what structure you would like, whether they themselves can add more people and manage the content with that, or if you just want them to be a viewer, which is where within our school we've used shared drive folders with students, because we just want we've added students to a shared folder because we've just wanted them to view the documents. We've not wanted them to edit them. Comment or contributor, which is where they can add and edit files that they've added, and obviously within that file, but they can't move or they can't delete those as well. So there's quite a good number of options there. So I'm just going to make Richard a content manager, which within staff members, I would obviously advise so that everyone can have sort of access rights there as well. Okay. We'll just have another look now at the different types of files. So we're going to go back to our demo file on here as well. Okay, so that was shared drives. I will just briefly show you what these options mean in terms of the shared with me and the recent and the starred. I'll just briefly go over those before the end of the session. So things like shared with me, which is when you've created things like the Google Doc, which we had a look at right at the start, which is when you can look at how you how you share documents, but also if somebody from your school has shared a document with you. Recent, as I said, from the main home screen on Drive. Recent's really good. I use Recent a lot. I probably use that more than any sort of other views, because it pops up your most recently accessed file. So I just find that really easy, because obviously most of the ones that I'm using I want to use from a sort of a day-to-day basis. It can be today or last week or etc. So they're my sort of documents on there as well. Starred is really good because if you have got some really important documents, again, that you might work on a lot, so it might be like schemes of work, or it might be sort of EHCPs that you want to keep going back to. So starred documents are amazing because they're sort of the most important ones. And also the bin. So if you do move a document to the bin, it will stay in here. And if you delete something, basically, it's not going to go permanently. It's always going to go to the bin. So yeah, unless you sort of manually enter your bin, it stays within there, so you don't have to worry about losing that. And you can always restore it from there as well. So if I was to right click, it gives you the option to restore it from the bin or delete forever. So yeah, just a bit of a clarification on that. If you put something into your bin, it's only going to go into the bin unless you select delete forever, which sounds very ominous. That's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so that was just recap or having a look at what some of these other options mean as well. Just going back to the PowerPoint, hopefully that's had a chance to load, which it has. So as I said, this was just a PowerPoint that I've uploaded to a file and a folder, sorry, and it's completely converted it to in sort of Google Slides format, and I can edit that as I would do the PowerPoint normally. So I can double click on the text. It will save as you do that as well. I'll just make sure that we've had a bit of a recap. and then we will leave it there for today, guys. So yeah, as I said, we've had a look at how we open Google Drive. So just on that waffle, so in a new tab, the 9 dots will come up on the right hand side, and then it's the waffle and open up on Google Drive. We've had a look at how we create a folder, a subfolder within that. We uploaded files from our computer. We added a Google Doc into that file as well. So we start to build up whichever type of resources. And then I briefly went over shared drives. So thank you so much. I hope that this was useful to you. And with anything that is new to you, or anything that's new in terms of Google Drive, my sort of biggest advice is just to start having a little bit of a mess around with it. So adding documents and creating folders, just really get comfortable with doing that. Just the major thing, and I always tell this to my students, if they're having technical difficulties and their computer sort of switches off, whichever, the best thing is, if you've done anything, every change is saved within 3 seconds. So unless it was a very, very quick change, all of the changes that you make within your Google Drive or documents, they will save within those 3 seconds. So reliability is the biggest thing for us when we're using Google Drive. You may feel obviously that sort of discomfort with having your files sort of split between Google Drive and your old sort of computer space. Maybe try just, even if you were to not necessarily just move on a mass, but moving your most used documents, and just start to feel comfortable with accessing them through Google Drive. I think the biggest thing is obviously that you trust it, that you can access it from anywhere. You don't sort of need that kind of VLAN access that you might have had to have before with going onto your Google Drive, your work access Google Drive. So yeah, just give it a go, and I hope this was useful, and have a good start to your year. Thank you.